Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for this opportunity for our team. Today, my team and I will present our works about flood mitigation in Denpasar, Bali. So first, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Ana Rawhi Berendiva. There are Nadia Hayu Habsari, Faraya Rizky Wijayanti, Alafta Steven Singhi Atala, and Fariska Zaneta Widianto. So, the outline for our works is the first introduction, the next is theoretical basis, methodology, discussion, and the closer is conclusion. We step into the first chapter is introduction. The background of our works is talking about disaster mitigation is a proactive approach that aims to reduce the risk by managing hazard, reducing the vulnerability, and increasing the capacity of an area through physical and non-physical intervention. The flooding in urban areas is caused by environment inability to accommodate rainwater runoff, the conversion of absorbing areas into built-up areas, and the decline in the function of drainage system. The high pressure of urbanization and Denpasar city has led to significant land use change, resulting in a decline in environmental carrying capacity and an increase in the frequency of flooding that causing serious economic losses and social disruption. And the flood in Denpasar, there are five problem identification. The first one is rapid urbanization. Land use change above 60% of city areas turn into impervious surfaces. The second is urgency for mitigation to reduce the flood risk. The third is drainage system limitation that unable to handle peak discharge. The fourth is flat topography that can cause the water flow slows. And the last is recurring flood events with the water depth up to 0.9 meters reported.
And the next chapter is the theoretical basis. Next. Disaster risk assessment. This assessment is conducted through an approach that integrates three main components, namely hazard, vulnerability, and capacity. This method aims to obtain a complete picture of the level of disaster risk in a region, so that it can be used as a basis for appropriate policy making and mitigation guidelines. Next. This is the chapter of disaster mitigation guidelines. The disaster mitigation guidelines outline that flood mitigation is carried out through structural and non-structural approach. The structural approach is reservoir and river normalization, and the non-structural is risk-based spatial planning and early warning system management. This approach is integrative, involving collaboration between various parties to create sustainable flood management.
We're moving on to the next chapter, chapter 3, methodology. Next. For our research location, there's in Denpasar City, Bali Province, and the total area of our location is around 127 kilometers square. The administrative division divided to 4 districts, divided to east, south, west, north, Denpasar. And the condition of the topography is dominated by flat topography, which the slope is around 0 to 3%. And that leads to prone to water stagnation. That means water cannot flow freely in short time. And then the climate tend to be tropical with high rainfall during the wet season. And then Denpasar has 3 main rivers to help Denpasar drain the flood. Tusar Badung, Ayung, and Mati rivers. Denpasar also has high population density. There's around 6,000 people per kilometer square. And for the framework, this flow chart conduct the assessment based on a review of several scientific articles adopted a systematic framework. And this flow chart outlines the process for creating a disaster management plan or rencana penanggulangan bencana, and that starts with the hazard map or peta bahaya and the vulnerability map or peta kerentanan that are combined to produce the disaster risk map atau peta risiko bencana. And separately, there's a capacity map or peta kapasitas, and the map is determined, which is linked to the regional resilience index atau indeks ketahanan daerah. And the index is associated action programs like strengthening policy, mitigation, and preparedness, like early warning system and such. And the final disaster management plan is formulated based on the intersection of the disaster risk map and the capacity map. Next.
Okay, we go next to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is talk about discussion. So we discussed about flood hazard analysis in Denpasar City. Flooding in Denpasar City is a complex environmental problem triggered by a combination natural factors or hydrometeorology and anthropogenic factors or human activities. The characteristic of flooding in Denpasar City often take the form of flash floods, which are marked by sudden high water speed and volume. And then flood hazard analysis in Denpasar City is number one is topographic wetness index or TWI. The mapping results show that areas with the high TWI values are scattered around the main river network, such as the Badung River and Ayung River, which often experience flooding due to high rainfall intensity. The second is hydrology process or AHP. Areas with built-up land use or such residential areas have a higher threat wave due to low soil infiltration. So this picture is explain about flood hazard assessment result in Denpasar City. The color explain about danger zone. The orange explain about intermediate zone. The yellow explain about hazard zone, and the green it's explain about safe zone. So the next is there's two table about flood vulnerability analysis in Denpasar City. And the first table is about potential population exposed to flood disaster in Denpasar City, and the second table is potential losses from flood disaster in Denpasar City.
So in this slide, we talk about the impact of floods on Denpasar City. We have the three impact. The first one is impact on society. So basically causing disruption to community activities, especially in densely populated residential areas and city centers. And we have the second impact on the economy. As a center of trade and tourism in Bali, flooding in Denpasar can trigger significant economic losses. And we have the last impact is the impact on the environment. So from an environment perspective, floods in Denpasar worsen surface water quality by carrying domestic waste, plastic trash, and sediments into drainage channels and water bodies. Next. On this slide, we can see the table of flood capacity analysis and Denpasar City. And looking at the priority index, we see the areas like stringent policies and institution and risk assessment and integrated planning have the highest index scores, meaning they are recognized as critical areas. Next. In this slide, we have the flood disaster risk assessment in Denpasar City. So analysis of each component of flood disaster risk assessment in Denpasar City. shows that the hazard and vulnerability values, which are categorized as moderate, reflect the actual condition on the ground. And we have the table of flood disaster risk level in Denpasar City. The overall risk class is calculated at 41, and this 41 confirms that the city faces a moderate level of flood risk. Next. And we have the law review of flood disaster mitigation in Denpasar City. Basically, the legal framework for disaster management in Indonesia, which serves as the basis for the preparation of the disaster risk assessment, or we can call this as a KRP document for Bali province, has provided a comprehensive foundation for disaster mitigation and adaptation, including floods in Denpasar City. Although the regulatory framework at the national level is adequate, the main challenge lies in the stage of implementation and synchronization at the regional level. So all these things is made to strict law enforcement, particularly regarding violence and spatial planning. Next. And we have the last of discussion is talking about sustainable flood mitigation recommendation. So the main plan that has been launched is to carry out river flow normalization as a flood control system. In addition, mitigation efforts are also aimed at reducing the discharge and volume of rainwater runoff, especially aimed the constraints of urban land. And the city government encouraged the implementation of rainwater harvesting methods through the construction of infiltration wells as regulated in Mayor Regulation number 18 of 2010.
So we come to the last chapter, chapter 5, talking about conclusion. There are 5 conclusions in our words. The first one is regulation implementation is adequate, but its effectiveness is hampered by weak law enforcement and special sanctions. The second is local government capacity is classified as moderate class and requires institutional, human resource, and infrastructure strengthening. The third, the level of hazard, vulnerability, and capacity, out of which are at a moderate level, require comprehensive and sustainable risk management. The fourth, integrated solution must combine structural, like river normalization or infiltration wells, and the non-structural solution is like regulation, public participation, and early warning system approaches. And the last is flood mitigation strategies must be multi-sectoral and integrated into long-term regional development plans.
Okay, that's all from our presentative. Thank you for your attention. Good night, good morning, and good afternoon. Have a good day. Thank you.